Hello, everybody. Welcome to MST Conversations. My name is Seema, and as a lot of you might know, that we are doing a Valentine's campaign, and this time we are talking about psychology of relationships. And one very integral part of relationships is, I think, so communication. So to talk on the same, we have an expert on board. She is an expert in mental health counseling. Her name is Miss Amrita Kajaria. Hi Amrita, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, guys, whoever wants
Thank
to
you for
know,
having me on board.
great. I was just saying that those who want to know about Miss Amrita, you can find the details about her in the description below. And I just introduced Amrita the topic for today, which communications in role of communications in relationships. So, what would you like to begin with? What do you think? Is there anything like healthy, unhealthy communication, and how what is it like?
Sure. So I think, yeah, there are healthy patterns, and some patterns, when stretched for a long period of time in relationships, can take the form of unhealthy communication styles, which then kind of cause interference in the relationships, a lot more conflict in the relations, um, and a lot more negative feelings, emotions, affect towards the relationship.
Right.
So I do feel like, yes, there are certain styles of communication which are healthy, and sometimes there are certain styles which, if pervasive, relationships.
Right. So let's start with the basics, which knowing the importance of communication in a relationship. Uh, Again, I
Yeah.
just mentioned about that there are different attachment styles. So, how communication plays an important role in a couple, in a
So,
romantic relationship.
sure. I think in general, right, regardless of any kind of relationship, whether it's an intimate relation, romantic relation, parental relation, friendship, any kind of relationship, to see that I often believe in like a very simple line that communication builds connection. So if you want connection,
Yeah.
communication is the way to go. Whether it's verbal communication or non-verbal communication, it can be both, or like a mixture of two. Ideally you would have like a mixture of both of them, um, but to see that very often we understand the importance of something by seeing the lack of it, right? So
Yeah.
what would the lack of communication lead to? It would lead to a lot of unsaid needs, a lot of unsaid expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Those expectations then don't get met, needs don't get addressed, and then there's a rise in frustration, irritation, all of that. And to see that all of that is not something that you want in relations, right? A lot of that bridging the gap can take place through communication. And I think healthy communication then looks like um, talking about everything, your values, your beliefs, your ideas about what is trust, what is commitment, what is intimacy, what does work mean, what does family mean, right? What is our idea about having a family? um, what are our dreams? How can we work together towards achieving them? How can we support each other in achieving them? So if we don't have conversations around them, uh, to see that we're
Certainly.
then missing out on a lot.
Right, right. That's actually a lot that one would miss without communication. But is it true, like, should people, especially couples, should they tell each other, their partner, everything? Is that also important? Or what would you say on that?
I think, see, underlying that question, you're talking about a value of trust,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when would you not want to tell someone something, right? When you believe that, hey, it may not be safe to say this, or it may lead to some kind of some sort of a knot in the relationship,
Yeah.
or can I trust this person with this kind of information, or this belief that I have, or something that has happened. So more than checking in with should I share every single thing, I think check in with what trust looks like in the relationship. you know,
Right.
to be able to have an open-ended conversation about, hey, what does trust mean to you? How can we build on that trust? Um, how can, when do we feel like trust is broken? And then to be able to a certain key, these are certain things
Mm.
that we base off our relationship. So what then looks like hiding or not? How can I even feel safe to be able to tell you this? So
Right.
if I'm not being able to tell something, can I at least tell my partner or tell whoever it is, right, that I'm
Yeah.
feeling um, unsafe, I'm feeling scared? Can I at least communicate the emotion behind it?
Okay. Right. That's interesting to know that, building trust, especially, I think is one of the foundational pillars in a healthy relationship. And talking about a healthy relationship, what are some unhealthy communication patterns that couples should watch out, or people generally in relationships also should, be mindful of?
Yeah. So, I think there's been a lot of research done on what does unhealthy communication look like. And some of the pioneering researchers in the field are John and Julie Gottman. They are psychologists who have done extensive work on relationships, love, marriage, conflict. Um, and they have like a whole institute set up for training and for counseling, therapy, learning. Um, and based on their research, primarily drawing from their research into work that we also engage in, unhealthy communication can look like 4 different patterns in a relationship.
Okay.
These patterns kind of come up in every relationship, right?
Yeah.
But it's what, if it's long term, then we say it's very unhealthy.
Right.
Yeah. I'll just go ahead and elaborate on a couple of them. So the first one is criticism. Now
Okay.
everyone will be wondering, but we all criticize each other, and there is something called as constructive criticism.
Right.
So see that, I guess a part of that is then to see that, hey, am I addressing the complaint underlying, or am I pointing at the person's character? For example, maybe
Yeah.
there's a partner who comes in late, right, who keeps coming late, etc., etc. It's very easy for the other partner to lash out and be like, hey, you never take me into consideration, you're always running late, you're so selfish, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to see that the label is at pointing at the person's character,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is not resolving the situation.
True.
That person's most likely. Go ahead. You were
True. So
asking
yeah,
something.
I was just saying that it happens so often that we, sometimes digress from addressing the problem at hand and just, talk about everything else. And especially Bollywood kind of, also media also has
Yeah.
some kind of role behind this also, because we see it so often in movies also, that all this
Yeah.
happening. And again, it's important to know that constructive criticism is also something that exists, and
Yeah.
looking problem at hand is the way forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think moving on in our conversation, we'll definitely talk a little more about how do we resolve that concern.
Right.
But to
Yeah.
see that criticism then leads to like defensiveness, which is like the second
Hmm.
horseman or second concern in unhealthy communication.
Right.
Where if I'm only saying you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, you're likely to come at me and say that, hey, I'm not like, I'm getting defensive, stop blaming me. Why
Yeah.
don't you also do this? And then there's that back and forth where we're only playing like a blame game, rather than accepting responsibility for whatever roles we play in the problem or that situation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then there are two more. The other one is called contempt, which according to these researchers is seen as like the a big no-no. And it can be very subtle.
Yeah.
It can be very like obvious.
Yeah.
Contempt basically looks like am I portraying myself as someone who's much more superior to this partner in
Okay,
this relationship?
like that.
Right? So sometimes when we have arguments, or sometimes someone does something and you say, hey, I'll never do that to you. If I were in your place, I would have never done something
Like
like
that.
this to you.
Ah,
So it can be as
that's a nice
subtle
example.
as showing that I'm the better one and you're the not so good one. Um, or it can be something as this thing is, someone comes home tired, or someone on call tells, very common example, the partner
Yeah.
comes home tired and says what a tiring day it was. And very often the other partner will be like, you call that tiring? Look at me, I worked this, and you're telling me you're tired. And like that eye roll, that
Yeah.
sarcasm, all of that is communicating contempt,
Yeah.
that I'm superior, your concerns are not concerns. And over a time it becomes very challenging to like
Unhealthy.
navigate. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're only dissing the other person.
Yeah. That's nice to know about
And
it. I
then
mean,
that,
yeah, carry on, carry on.
no, I was just coming to the fourth one, which was, I think that, right, where I'm constantly telling you that I'm better than you are in most respects, is going to likely lead the other person to shut down, which is called as stonewalling. Um, where the other person just zones out, tunes out, and then that becomes another issue. As you are not listening to me, you're not talking to me,
Hmm.
you're only distracted. But that other person is actually feeling very flooded because you're constantly attacking them. Because these four patterns together, they go hand in hand. One leads to the other kind of a thing, or the one builds up to lead to the other. Um, is what typically constitutes unhealthy communication.
Right. That's so important to know, right? I mean, we do talk about healthy ways, but it's also, I think, so important to understand when you're going unhealthy, so you can acknowledge that and try to
Yeah,
work on it. And again, these unhealthy communication patterns are so prevalent. I cannot even uh,
yeah,
imagine because I think so. We have seen it even as growing up in our parents having some kind of
of
conversation
course.
like that, or relatives, or grandparents, and it's nice to know that where they were also coming from and how we can, try to change if we have similar habits.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, moving on to how to like as we said we would be also discussing a little bit how to resolve all these issues. So how to navigate the unhealthy styles? What how would you like to tell our viewers right now? What are those ways of getting out of this unhealthy styles of communication?
yeah, yeah. I think, like you said, Seema, the first thing is to recognize it. Very often we engage in a conflict without knowing how we are responding to the conflict.
Right.
To see that a conflict is natural, right? No relationship exists without conflict, and that conflict is actually healthy
Yeah.
because it helps you like grow, it helps you understand the other perspective. But it's the way we resolve the conflict which determines, hey, is it becoming healthy or is it becoming unhealthy? So the first thing is to recognize that, am I constantly
Yeah.
criticizing my partner? Am I constantly trying to show that I'm the superior one in the relationship?
Yeah.
Am I constantly blocking my partner out, like because it's getting too much for me, so I'm just not listening to them? And yeah, we are talking about primarily relationships, romantic relationships, but even in other relations, I think in friendships even, all of this happens very often.
Yeah.
So to be mindful of it first. And then luckily these researchers also said that each of these four horsemen, as they call them,
Okay.
have their antidotes.
Okay.
So they do have some things that you
That's
can
nice.
do to
Did they use the term antidote? I wish they did.
yeah, they actually use the term antidotes
Nice.
to manage these styles. So for criticism, the first one is using a lot of I feel, I need, and then a request. So for example, we going ahead with our example of someone coming in late, or for example, your partner is only talking about themselves and you want to also talk about yourself, but you feel like I don't have a way to do so,
Right.
right? So rather than saying why is it always about you, which is criticism, um, the alternative way of it would be, I feel like I'm a little frustrated today, I need to vent, can we talk about my day?
Right.
So you've communicated what you actually want through a need, and you've communicated your feelings.
That's
So
very, again, a very healthy way of putting out there. And as you said, in a very simple, healthy way, you're just explaining what you need. And that's a nice antidote, honestly.
then there's, for contempt is very interesting. I personally found that very interesting, was a lot more appreciation, right? So contempt is, like we said, it's me
Yeah,
being over you, right? I'm superior to you.
yeah,
So it's kind of creating a little more appreciation and respect, because again, research, Harvard research, Gottman research, all of it has shown that respect, empathy, and understanding are like the key factors to a healthy relation. So based on that, these researchers did a lot of experiments and analysis, etc. And they found a ratio of 5:1 to be very helpful. What that ratio means is, for every one negative comment or incident or situation, you
yeah.
have 5 positives or appreciations or compliments or good things to say about your partner.
Okay.
So that it's an interesting way of looking at, yes, there are going to be negatives, but you try and have more positives and more appreciation, more fondness, admiration, to kind of maintain harmony in a relationship.
Right. So, do you want to give an example of that? Like, how would it actually work out, probably in a husband-wife setting?
Sure. So I think, say you've had an argument, etc., etc. I think it may not be in that situation, but it's generally that over the day or over the week or over the month, to have or to notice the small things also, right? So maybe they did make you a warm cup of tea or coffee, and while that might be their duty, to recognize that they did it for you.
Yeah,
To recognize that, hey, your clothes were neatly folded and kept wherever it needed to be. To recognize that
yeah,
when your mood was off, someone did come and press your head, or someone did come and like hug you, or whatever it was. So to kind of recognize even the small actions,
yeah.
to kind of build a more loving relationship, I guess, and to build more fondness in the relationship.
Absolutely. It's nice to know. And moving on to I guess there are two more antidotes,
Yeah,
right? So yeah,
yeah.
that'd be great.
Uh, So in defensiveness, the antidote is usually, I think fairly everyone will probably have guessed it also. It's about taking responsibility for the part you play, right? So maybe you don't have to take responsibility for the whole situation, which is fine.
Yeah,
You can communicate your preference, right? So very often in couples, you'll see that there's one couple who doesn't, and this may be a little stereotypical, but to give an idea of what the example looks like, you'll have one couple who's running late, the other couple who wants to get there on time, or like the other
yeah,
partner who wants to get there on time.
yeah,
And there's always a little bit of fuss about that. We're running late, you always run late, all of that.
yeah,
um, and I think that leads to defensiveness. Now you can never get ready on time, and then the other person will be like, hey, but I was busy. Then it goes like, so what, you were busy? It just becomes a whole cycle.
right.
So I think responsibility can look like, I don't like getting late, but maybe this time I agree I can create a little more flexibility.
Right.
So that way, you have suggested that, hey, my preference is not to get late. I like being on time. At the same time, I can take responsibility for some part where I can also become a little more flexible.
Right. Okay. So that's the antidote for defensiveness,
Yes.
taking
And the
responsibility.
last one, yeah, the last one is stonewalling, right? Where you shut
Yeah.
down. I think first is to recognize that shutting down is actually because you're feeling very overwhelmed, right? In any situation, we're likely to shut down or freeze because that situation is leading us to feel very, very nervous, anxious, overwhelmed, anything of that sort.
Right.
And a part of it is to recognize that. So that's where boundary setting becomes important. And I'm sure there are a lot of videos on MHT which do talk about like boundaries and resources that you
Yeah.
have. Um, but I think a part of it is to recognize that, hey, you know what? I'm feeling very overwhelmed right now. Can you please give me 20 minutes to cool down and then we can talk about it? You know, to
Right.
be able to communicate that rather than get into that conversation, say things that you're going to regret later, have a lot of conflict, and engage in like all of those other patterns of criticism, defensiveness, contempt.
Right.
To take some cool off time, I think that's perfectly okay, and that's in fact healthy.
Right. And I
um,
think so. We all need that sometimes.
yeah,
Especially, I feel when probably newly married couples can relate with it the most because all of a sudden you are supposed to live with a new person, a new setting,
yeah,
and it can get overwhelming, and it's totally natural. And setting up
yeah,
boundaries can just help you in adjusting and relaxing your mental health at that time, because there must be so much going on, right, in any point of time in our life. It's not just one thing. Sometimes we have,
yeah.
there's studies, work, family. You need that
A
time.
lot, a lot. And it's okay to take that break
Hmm.
before you engage in a heavy conversation. And I think not just for like couples, right? Not just, like I said, a lot of this is applicable in almost any relationship
Right.
dynamic. Um, and it's okay to, like, if you need to cool off and soothe yourself, engage in a little bit of reading or TV or music, and then take on a difficult conversation, because you're more likely to like engage in that conversation more peacefully, um,
Right.
and you're more likely to come to some conclusion rather than just like leave it fully open
Yeah,
ended.
and most of the time it's finding a conclusion, right? That's what we're trying to
Yeah,
do. And it was amazing talking about, so many things about communication. It's, as we, said earlier, it's integral part of all our relationships, as we have talked about that over time. Not just, being
yeah,
in a couple's relationship, even family, friendships, siblings, and
yeah,
words do play a very big role in our life, because
yeah,
some words can just make our day and some can just ruin it for weeks or months.
yeah,
So again, those who are watching, if you're facing, relationship issues, again, be it regarding, your marriage or family or with some friends, Miss Amrita Kajaria is reachable, and you can find her details in the description below. So Amrita, what else would you like to share with the audience before, we wrap up? We did cover most of the
sure,
things, right, that we wanted to talk
sure,
about, right?
yeah.
So it's
And I
Valentine's. What
think
would
to
you
sum
like to
it
say?
up, just
Yeah,
I think to sum it up, just to like see that it's open communication, open-ended conversations, open-ended communication that is key to building like a healthy relationship. I think using a lot of I statements, we statements rather than
yeah,
you, um, making it a little less rigid, using preferences, I would like you to, I appreciate. um, and the most important part, I think, which often is very, very underestimated, is being able to listen and
right,
actually hear the person rather than like zone out or make a judgment with like one word and then snap and then engage in like that kind of conflict. I think the key is to be able to listen, because only if you're understanding the underlying language
Right.
will you be able to also engage in healthy communication? And of course, to be very comfortable with yourself. I think a lot of insecurities come in when you're not comfortable with yourself. So being able to first become comfortable with yourself, so that the other person also learns to get comfortable with you, there's comfort in the relationship, all
Absolutely.
of that. So I think those are a few key takeaways.
That's great. And I just feel that these things, I wish when I was growing up, somebody had, told me about it, because we all had, I can't use that word, but yeah, those kind of moments in our relationship where we felt like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. How could I correct this? And I'm
Yeah,
just glad, Amita, we could do this and, share with the audience out there and
of
further to
course,
make a better relationship, better society.
of course.
So on that note, thank you so much everybody for joining in, watching this webinar. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any other suggestions, any other questions, please share it in the comment box below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.